Okay, this is us. Perfect. Okay. So again, just to go one back. So it's, does it go back? Yeah. So sustainable project initiation is what we're looking at with the ideation and gender. We had that already. Yeah. Okay, what does it actually mean? So sustainability and strategic planning. So I had already pinpointed that it's actually very difficult to kind of start sustainability if you're just being dropped into the delivery as a project manager. Yeah? So if somebody has already decided for you, those are the tools, those are the techniques that you're going to use in your project, then you are kind of already determined that there's a limited applicability. So to do it right, you want to set it within our frames. Isn't that great how it links to project, program, and portfolio management? So it's about the governance of sustainability. And this comes from a paper, and really the idea is here to integrate it as a process. Yeah, and the governance frame here kind of embraced as environmental excellence, social responsibility, and economic performance. And this requires consultation and involvement of the stakeholders and the employees, communities. I said it repeatedly in our governance talk today. Yeah? So governance is embedded in communities. Governance is enormously different from what you may think here. Governance is in Newcastle, and even within Newcastle, I have a suspicion that you may find different corners, where communities interpret governance different to other communities. So make it contextual to your project, right? Your project is in a locality and affects communities that are there. So find out. Shareholders maybe as well. Shareholders normally have nowadays as well a big problem. If they have large money, if it's an investment fund or something, they want to be seen to be on the right projects too. So if they are from Switzerland or Sweden or UK, you may have additional governance requirements or expectations what sustainability looks like from those countries, which creates very weird scenarios. Then you have as well customers, suppliers, and partners, of course. So they are informing your governance to ask the right questions. And here the business system and people are the. I've kind of broken it down here. So I've put the core. What was I thinking there? So you have the business system, which is people are the linchpin of the system. What does that mean, linchpin? What is a linchpin? Does anybody know? I shouldn't have used the analogies of the paper. I noticed this here. So the linchpin is kind of the weak spot. So if the linchpin breaks, actually this happened in my house. There's it's not a linchpin, but I have a pin for the valve to close my tap water, and that broke. And then you have consistent flow. So this is basically what happens, and it's the same. So if one of the people kind of breaks, and accepts bribery or doesn't do the job as bespoke or as required, or in the worst case doesn't build the bridge in the first place, then this is basically your linchpin in the system. Products make to use, so the idea is that they have to be functional, and then the process is eliminate waste. And now we come to the key element, it's the values. This is the principles by which you should kind of try to enforce it. And I mean, this is some principles. You have to interpret those to your project scenarios, of course. But it's about integrity, environment, health and safety, customer, excellence, people, and profitability, and accountability. So it's really a non-brainer if you think about the principles. But if you read the paper, cut here a few summaries out to kind of bring it to you, you will see that it's actually quite a tough one. Now then you have the sustainability and the strategic plan, and again here's a word of warning. This is normally not the first thing where you are embedded as a project manager, but this is where it should sit. In the strategy you have the vision, maybe the mission. The sustainable drivers are kind of either implicitly already there, or you should kind of enforce or inform back that they are not yet there. So if you don't have sustainable drivers, if they are missing in your corporate strategy or in your company that you're working for, then this is probably still an area under development. So notice here, I've written as well a paper with Alex on this. We're kind of claiming that it's very difficult for you as a project manager if the company pays no attention to health and safety and environmental requirements, yeah, then you're in a tough position. Yeah. And then here, operation-specific strategy. So this is different from operational, but the projects are, of course, as well a key delivery for strategy and what you actually want to get out of it, right? So if you want to integrate it, there's a certain level of refinedness that you should arrive at and be aware of. So this is a model that I kind of use because it's wonderfully bubbled up and very interconnected. There is, you see the spheric overlap. But if you really take the spheres seriously, it's very concerning that the ideation doesn't actually relate to the synthesis and transition. But again, as a model, it's a lovely picture. So you have at the top kind of the purpose of what you're trying to achieve. So here the ideation and enterprise central idea that provides purpose, identity, and long-range intention. And this sits quite strong on me. People generally apply for that reason as well to companies, right? If you want to work for a company, it's probably because you have heard that they're either a lovely company or pay well or have a great graduate program or you like their products, right? There's often a part of that. And then with this area sits as well the long-range vision, yeah, which is kind of part of the ideation. Now this then translates into the nature. So here culture, who is already working there, and you as well. What is your culture? So it changes, of course. Yeah, so it's enterprise culture, structure, and strategy that is formulated, and you see a strategy is quite central to that because it's as well informed by the vision, of course. Yeah, so enterprises, goals, metrics, if they're measuring performance, this is normally what you pull out. I show you a few that you get an idea what may be reported in the metrics. Yeah. And then this translates as well normally linear into the strategy more or less, unless you have arbitrary goals and values. So this can happen too. Then you have, of course, the engagement part, and this is where the strategy may be steered through a portfolio. Yeah, and arguably here they use the brave term synthesis. Yeah, so did you know the term? It means you have a thesis and an idea, yeah, that you believe is true, that is bulletproof, and then you establish an antithesis. So how could that go wrong? Yeah, the opposite. And the synthesis is finding out what remains. Yeah, so the one that is proven to be fit, and the portfolio is a tool here in this model, or often used by companies to do so. Yeah, it allows them the kind of flexibility that they want to kind of deliver the project and be strategically flexible enough to respond to changing market conditions or new emerging trends. Yeah. And then on the project and program level, you have here really the synthesis itself. I read it out. Carrying out projects and programs according to the priorities set by the portfolio process. And then you have the transition for the operation. So ongoing work driven by projects and programs and refined by process management. So they recognize as well the processes here as the engine to actually instill the sustainability. Yeah. Okay, so a lot to take in. Simplified version, so we have different organization types. There are certain one-latedness. So a lot of you have probably already covered this last semester with Michel, or in your case, with Phil or Christian Koch, right?
Christian.
Yeah. No, strategy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. So you should remember it, and for the others, you should remember it was Michel. Yeah. This is a wide pitch, so I go quickly through it. The point is, depending on your organization, it's more easy or less easy to change. Yeah, and I show you what I mean by that. So functional structure, you know, right? So we have our departments, and you sit in a department, and as a project, you kind of sit still in your department. It may come up in your appraisal how you collaborated, but you know, you're in your department. So this is where your line manager sees you, where your colleagues are, where your identity is based, right? Then you have the project organization. So here you have as well departments, but you're not even based in departments. You kind of move with the projects to the locations, and you sit in a shared space. And you may occasionally go back to your office, yeah, but it's like a different game. So this is a project organization structure, and then we have as well the matrix organization. Now here it's very fancy. We have all And there are all kinds of wonderful side effects, and I have kind of tabled this out from the paper. So you arrive here at a certain issue. So with the organizational type, you can literally look at it. So if you have a strong functional matrix, the authority of a project manager is non-existing really. The line manager is the one in charge. So as a project manager, you're really pitching here on relationship building and having a project that people want to be part of, where they see a value. And then so with this comes as well in the functional percent of performing organizations personnel assigned full-time to project work. There's nobody full-time assigned. You're in a dilemma. You see this, right? And then project manager's role, often part-time or on top of what you're doing already. And then common titles for project manager's role. So you're often a project coordinator or project leader. And then project management administration staff. You often have part-time support. So this means you're playing actually in a troubling environment. In matrix, we have to differentiate a little bit from weak matrix to strong matrix. But to show you the maybe on the other scale, kind of the optimal, the balanced matrix. So here the project manager's authority, and the more it moves over to kind of project-sized organization, you have more power. So you may even have like fully contributed team members, and it sits as well maybe with you being a full-time project manager. So you would as well have your identity role probably with a PMO, or something like that. Maybe in a research and development or innovation unit. This is quite common, or department, depending on how they have branded it. And here you have already more power, and the titles change as well, project manager or project officer maybe. And when you come to project-sized, this is a lot stronger. So you have high, almost total power as well in terms of authority. And you have as well a lot more assigned full-time staff actually, and you're yourself full-time assigned. Now, why is that interesting? We see kind of not really surprising that achieving sustainable goals has a linear effect on this. So just to read you through it, vertical structure matters. A project is more likely to achieve sustainability goals if the function lives higher up within the organizational structure. So it's not really surprising. So functionally, in a functional organization, you're very likely to trim your functional department on sustainability. So in engineering, you look at efficiency, effectiveness of waste reduction, and things like that. But will you necessarily embrace processes that are allowing you project delivery-wise sustainability? Probably not, because it's very difficult to kind of see across the organization, right? Not really surprising. So horizontal structures matter. A project is more likely to achieve sustainability goals if the function lives within a certain department. So this is kind of the opposite to the former, but they are both very important. But there is no one-size-fits-all, so in a way, this is a hidden point. Depending on your organization that you're based in, this is how you should approach the sustainability, right? I hope that makes sense, So you can do the analysis and see what strategy fits you well or best, really, Okay. Now, decision-making tools. So this is really kind of where it comes to the ideas that you are bringing forward, right, with sustainability. So we have different ones. So decision analysis process. So it's basically the idea of it's to talk you one through it. So you basically have a decision maker. Will it be a nice thought? Other way around. So you have kind of the idea, and the question here is, will it be as nice as you thought that you kind of arrive at? So where are you now? You basically look at your project, how you're performing, where would you like to get to, and then you basically map out different scenarios. So how will you know when you are arrived? So are there measurements, and how could you get there? This is the other question. And will it be as nice as you thought? So it's as well backtracking your ideas. So it's simple processes to make kind of the ideas or motivations available. And another tool is kind of the decision analysis process. So steps by decision analysis process. So you have a decision framing at the beginning, then a modeling of the situation. So you go through a scenario with your team maybe, and then a quantitative analysis, and then implementing monitoring and evaluating as well quantitative criteria to keep a lookout for it. So, I mean, this comes really from the PM book, they recommended. So the hard delivery parts for that is risk management, planning, risk identification as well. Yeah? So what comes first, the planning or identification? Or what do you think? In many projects we have a huge problem, or we haven't got a risk catalog yet. You can pull something off the web nowadays quite easily to get a risk catalog, but in reality you have to start kind of think about what are actually dangers, to then start formulating it. So then you actually start up the opposite. So you start actually what are risks. So defining what is a risk for you, and then you can look at identification. Then you can plan for it. Yeah. The planning comes here first, because in the PM book you have processes that they support for you to identify the risk. So be aware that that is maybe a little bit misleading. So, but again, the steps are identification of the problems, opportunities, and then addressing business situation, determining success criteria, identifying uncertainties, generating alternatives, or having a look at what your friends can bring to the table, how you can solve it, right? Then you have creating a model for project alternatives, quantifying uncertainties. So going through the models maybe. This can be as simple as sitting down, step by step, what do we have to do, and then making sure that you have team representatives. This works normally in design teams. This works not on big projects. So if you have something like that, make sure you have the right tool actually for this. And then last but not least, the quantifying and implementing. Here it's quite interesting. They are actually focusing on risk monitoring and control. So you could work as well with the review stage to actually refine your decisions, but again, monitoring and control is as well suitable at that point. Sustainable decision making tool is here the smarter. So we had already smarter in project program portfolio management was agreed, right, as an extra one. So we had the first one every time, right? So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. Then we had agreed as a nice bonus. But now we have smarter, which is environmentally and responsible. So you can kind of as well look at your criteria or success criteria, that if they actually fit in that. Some may not be responsible or environmentally friendly. Another one is a sustainable decision-making tool. So here it's a cost-benefits analysis, and here the tool, the charities try this already, so it has been proven to be quite good for this. But they basically map out the social benefits. Are you actually hitting those with your project? And this is a tough one. So there's a social benefit maybe, and there's a social cost with it. And there's an optimum cost-benefit ratio. So this could be percent of pollution eliminated. So depending on what you want to measure. So this is again a very hard scientific fact. You could measure as well how the use is actually coming up when you're developing something spatially, or have trials to see the user interface. Now, sustainable decision, so this is a decision tree, and it's a little bit like an algorithm. If you program, you may be familiar with it, so it's kind of a structure of what you considered for your decision making, and allows basically other contributors to follow your thought and maybe ask new questions or refine. Now, this is a very powerful tool. So here is a pre-given one. So possible project activity, introduce a hybrid maze. So is capable, available to land user, yes, no, and then respective strategies. So in a project scenario, again, once you work through this, you could come up with a rough plan and refine it basically with your different team members and stakeholders. the backcasting. This is quite a powerful one, and I want to actually try that out with you a little bit. This is basically, again, scenario-based. So here you look kind of at the past, present, short-term, and medium-term, and long-term. So you basically envision what will be the best outcome in the future, and we play actually the. I have to be careful. So the proper name from 10 years ago is heaven and hell. So I should probably kind of refine this into good and ugly or something like that. Yeah? Good or bad or something. Yeah. But so it's heaven and hell. So you're basically kind of envisioning what would the optimal state look like in the future. Yeah? How would people use our product or service, and what would be the feedback that we are getting? What would be the best state? And then the other question: what is the worst state? What was the worst state? What could happen? What has gone wrong? Why would people be dissatisfied? Yeah? And then you work backwards to where you're at, and it gives you a path. Yeah, it gives you the path to hell and the path to heaven. Yeah, this is a joke, but yeah. So we will try that in a bit, and you can give it your honest go and see how it works. This is a little bit more scientific and more strategically enabled. So here you have to have as well the right team involved. Yeah, otherwise it's very likely that the senior managers will not welcome it too warmly necessarily. It's a double loop learning. So single loop learning is a traditional thing. Most common style of learning is really just problem solving, improving the system as it exists. So you have kind of techniques, goals, values, and strategies, what we do, and you have kind of a problem, you have recognized it, or you're looking at a project, so you refine it, you come up with a solution to it. But and this will be your result, right? But the double loop learning is you look actually at your result and you go back more than just fixing the problem. This style of learning involves questioning the underlying assumptions behind the techniques, goals, and values. So why we do what we do, and if you start asking that question, you come to different answers, and often business models change. Yeah, this is a multi-criteria decision analysis. So I mentioned that before, so there's well matrices that normally come with this. So this is really like maybe criteria that you can report regularly. And here is an example with kind of how you're doing in terms of energy, health and well-being, social and economic, water, material waste. This is kind of a mark to kind of charter out savings or how you're performing against your benchmarks that you're trying to achieve. Yeah. So those were the decision tools. So what do we need in the business plan? In the business plan, well, we have a business case at the beginning. So yeah, there's often the cost. So if it pays, then a lot of times in the past at least we would do it. Yeah, particularly if it's outweighing the normal business as it was before. But important to recognize is you can as well look a little bit long-term, or more long-term, and kind of embrace the sustainability as an engine of like prosperity. So then you can as well look at enhanced reputation, enhanced performance, cost savings in the future, and legal benefits. And maybe as well better business relationships with your partners. Yeah? So this is very likely to be a consequence of that. But again, it needs leadership. Yeah? So this may come from you asking for it, or you may want to actually kind of state it, well, maybe pitch it to a company up front. Yeah, that is something desirable. Now the business case it's already slightly aligned here. So in the literature, they recommend that you think of the commercial benefits, the social and moral benefits, and the legal benefits. So most companies, although they tell you it's about shareholder values, in reality, if you look at it, you will see that the companies are allowed to perform as long as it's kind of endurable practice. Yeah? So as long as people kind of are okay. If it's too unethical, yeah, or quite frankly just stealing, you often see a format of interfere interference, and people will try to close it down. You know? So there's often a counter movement. But again, here the social and moral benefits are as well part of it. So then you have anticipated outcomes of the project, relationship to the organization's plan and overall strategy. So this is very important, and it makes as well strategic sense. Anticipated opportunities and benefits that you can as well measure maybe for it. And what are the timescales for the project? Who will be affected by the proposed development? What risks are involved in the implementing of the project? And what planning is in the place to manage such risks? So this is where the mitigations, of course, and basically a risk plan. Yeah? How long will it take to recoup projected costs as savings or benefits? And what are the investment costs? How much capital is required? What are the likely running costs? So those points like how long will it take to recoup the projected costs or savings or benefits is often not termed in that way. Yeah, there's often a question on when do we actually get return on the on our investment. Yeah, this is often how it's phrased. Now, with the sustainable business case, you can even go a stage further. So you can kind of use the business case for sustainability to implement it as well as a project driver for your business cases. So this is recognizes the need for voluntary actions that can contribute to societal or environmental values above expected economic reasons. Yeah, so this is often free. It needs coordination, so there's coordination costs attached. But otherwise, this is actually quite good. Then you kind of have on the other side, for the business case, is able to illustrate activities undertaken create a positive and measurable business effect or affect the corporate success, i.e. cost savings, increase in sales or competitiveness, improved profitability or reputation. Yeah, so the lowest part would be reputation, that the people around your company feel that you're doing great work, right? This is good. Then you kind of arrive at maybe builds on a clear business model capable of demonstrating and supporting the collinearity between societal and environmental effects and the economic or business effect. Yeah? And then you can kind of go through the steps, develop sustainability goals, objective, scale, and approach, create interactive information block system via which need and impact of sustainability can be identified and or justified. And last but not least, design assessment framework for development of business case for sustainability. And with this, with the framework, you have a tool then to measure, right? So you have to kind of think as well whether it makes sense actually to kind of go and account for the different factors that you are kind of steering or controlling or monitoring in this case. The environmental considerations is another key driver. So the following really should be considered. This comes from the Green Project Manager book. To what degree will the project reduce or prevent emission or persistent toxic pollutions? So this is normally quite easy to, normally your suppliers give you this already. Yeah? So if you look at your supply chain, they are often already trimmed on it. Particular aggregate industry, they are very good in this. Yeah? Will the project result in recovery of natural resources? Is the use of fossil energy reduced by the project? So this is often very difficult to find out, but still worthwhile attempting, unless you have it all under your control. Yeah? How have green procurement targets been included with the project? So this comes back to kind of your framework that you start off with. And is a project of benefit to biodiversity? Yeah. Now that is actually quite a controversial one, but nonetheless, those are the environmental considerations, yeah, and it can be easily included, right? Economic considerations: how does the project strengthen the financial tools for the ecosystem protection? Yeah? So this means as well not depleting resources, right? So that you are still have the possibility in the future to have similar resources available. And has a polluter pays principle been followed? This is again the idea of allocating the risk to the capable party, right? If you are working with a specialist in chemicals, then don't take the risk for spillage. Then this should be with them, that they have a facility set up and storage set up so that it's not spilling, right? So they are probably a lot more able to come up with good mitigation strategies. Have the cost of all ecosystems effect been taken into consideration? So sometimes, I've talked already about spillage. So if you are in certain industries, then a spill can be like a total disaster and really ruin kind of your business. So then you want to, of course, like prevent this and have an alternative plan to basically deal with that. And are all financial drivers of the project sustainable? Again, this should be as well something in mind. If you're just trying to cash out short term, then your economic drivers are probably ill-defined. Okay. Then we have the social considerations. This is a little bit more to. I mean, it's simplified again. So, but how does the project increase the public understanding of sustainability? Not sure that is always achieved fully, but there's some element of it. How does a project influence citizens' positive sustainability behavior? How does a project create positive effects of the public health? How does a project contribute to more integrated policy, planning and management for sustainable development? So those could be all considerations in the business plan. Now from the business plan, if you get approval, and those factors are in, then the project charter is kind of a walk into the park, because that just means you're implementing the criteria anyway. So the project charter, what is it? The project charter is kind of the upfront document. Did we have that in project pro? No, we haven't had that yet. Oh, this is a good point. So okay, let me introduce it. So it's the initial kind of starting point for your project, where you kind of set up how you scope your project. So what is in and out. Actually, I've written it down, right? So it's often a formal statement, which may be variously known as a scoping document, quality plan, a project chapter, or project initiation document, which really kind of aligns with what you're looking for. And here you are defining as well the measurements. So if your business plan, of course, recognizes sustainability, you have to have those criteria as well in your project charter, and the measurement strategy in what you're doing. I have as well an example, I think, before I read on with this. No, not yet. Okay, it comes later. But the idea is really that you clearly have goals established, as well assumptions. I see that repeatedly, that particularly very commercial-driven agendas, they don't like the term assumptions, but it's important to establish those. So if you're making assumptions and you don't have good information yet, or there's uncertainty, then assumptions is a good thing. That makes it transparent what's going on, and you can have a dialogue on the assumptions, and you can refine it so it's not an assumption anymore. Project initiation document is one way of doing it. So here you really kind of translate the business case into how you're going to deliver it, and you look at the feasibility with your tools and different techniques that you're bringing forward. So the details of the project goals and objectives and the critical success factors by which achievement of the objectives will be judged is part of it. And you have, well, I have run you through it, roles and responsibilities, assumptions, arguably, to PMI at least, availability of other services, kind of pricing, quantities. To give you an example, in the Potsdamer Platz in Berlin, one wonderful project, 2000, I worked as well on the Sony Glass Center, well, Diamond it's called, and I've as well destroyed a few windows there by accident, but this is a different story. The fascinating story for me as an engineer at the time was that they ordered so much cement that the cement price went up by double, and there were running shortages. So if you had a mega project somewhere else, there was no cement available for a year. So just be aware that assumptions are important. So if you state something like this, this is similar like what initially Dubai or Abu Dhabi created. If you have large sites like this, you have to kind of state like, hey, we assume that this will run as normal, yeah, and so the extrapolation is often not true. This is all I'm saying. Yeah, scale matters. Yeah, so assumptions are very important. Then details of project management approach as well. Yeah, what do you want to do? Is it agile? Do you respond with people, or do you comply to a framework, or do you have a bespoke one, yeah, where your tools and techniques are actually specified? Then outline plan, constraints maybe that you have already recognized, and of course risks are as well part of this normally. Yeah, with a project, a sustainable project charter, here we have already broken it down. What's important to recognize, they have actually in the deliverables, I have picked this as a specific example. Where is it gone? Non-financial, sorry, I have to read it a little bit. Yeah? So here is kind of KPIs, key performance indicators, that they're looking for. This is just one example, so I have the reference where you can look at the documentation. It's web pages actually that I've done with this one from. But you can have a look at different examples. So here the project charter is the first place to start. It's the one document that dictates control over the entire project. The project charter contains criteria how sustainable the project will be. If you put it in, of course, that is, right? If you don't put it in, then yeah, so here's the example that I was talking about. Yeah, so here you can actually see procedures, they actually go for it. So this is super because two key benefits of sustainable project charter are get the project thinking sustainability from the initiation phase, yeah, and authorizes you, the project manager, to formalize sustainability processes into sustainability project management plan. Yeah, and yeah. Again, here's an example from the Department of Health and Human Services. So yeah, have a look. This is actually pretty cool stuff. They have done it with a lot of frameworks. This is what comes out. So they use LEED. There are different frameworks for different industries. So there is one for construction. Yeah. So there are other ones for other industries. Be aware of that. It gets very tricky actually if you try to summarize it across different industries, but it's worthwhile exploring. So where do we arrive with that? A sustainable project charter. If the project charter is used for budget authorization, showing sustainability, this can be reduction aims. Yeah? So we are not always to hit the maximum. We may try to reduce. So make sure that you that you recognize a reduction as something good. Yeah, I've seen many scorecards where they said, oh, we have a reduction in water, and it came up red and looked so like our project was failing or something, but this was actually really good. We had to reduce basically drinking water use, yeah, and had actually kind of basically achieved a great achievement, but it wasn't reported in the dashboard. So give it its credit if you have reduction, and that is just showing actually what you have achieved, but here it's reduction in paper use, so it's a weak example, but still it's an example. Yeah? So and it's an additional selling point, of course, to obtain the funding needed to the project. In addition, the SPC can spell out project acceptance criteria during the close project or the phase on how sustainable the project actually was. So when you come to the end of the project, you can actually hold people accountable to it. Yeah? If this is agreed contractually, yeah, then this is as well a delivery part. So this is important to recognize. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I noticed this is quite a run, and you deserve as well a break in a second. So let's do a summary to recap and revisit this a little bit. So sustainable project tools, yeah, and I've kind of broken this down here at the organization and management level. There's the environmental management system, stakeholder engagement, corporate environmental reporting, and lifecycle management, of course, is a tool. Right? This is really your currency. If you legitimize the criteria on that level, you will always be better off. I haven't yet seen one business case that wouldn't be better off with a sustainability concept. Yeah? Oh, I should say as well, so eco-efficiency analysis and stakeholder engagement could actually apply across all of those. Yeah? But They are actually really everywhere. Okay, yeah. So, but for marketing and communication, you have the corporate environmental reporting, eco-labeling. Again, I would be careful with this, particularly if you want to be seen as an authentic company. Don't overdo this. There are many companies that have actually misbranded themselves, and they are seen now as like, what is a nice word of putting that? As doing the rhetoric, but not necessarily doing the talk, but not the walk, or something like that. Yeah. So there were some companies that have kind of overdone that, and you miss kind of the authentic implementation of it. Again, marketing as well, stakeholder engagement, of course. Then product design and development, you have design for environment, eco-efficiency analysis, so we had that as well. Life cycle assessment, environmental risk assessment, we do this already, right? PESTEL is already an integrated part of our project management tools, right? In strategy, you have it. It's a political, what is PESTEL again?
Political, economics, social, legal.
Technical, yeah? Environmental. Legal. Yes. Yeah. There's the short one with PEST. Yeah. Try it out. This is a strong tool. Yeah. And within this, you can of course recognize your risks. Right. There's risks, threats, opportunities. Right. You know the game. Right. So in each cluster, you can do a contextual analysis and use the people that are actually knowledgeable in those areas. Right. So yeah. Then suppliers and purchasing maybe as well. Again, environmental supply chain management. I've seen some attempts on this. It's not yet there, but some companies are good because they have to do with it anyway. So water companies like Nestle and Pepsi, they actually seem to be very environmental friendly. This is because they're nearly filtering it to a chemical degree. I'm not sure that they would hit sustainability. Yeah? So there is a huge discussion around that. Yeah? Green procurement maybe, and then facilities management and project development. Yeah? Here you have green building design. This is from construction. Then you have environmental impact assessment, environmental management systems, and again stakeholders engagement. Yeah. I've forgotten the production and distribution, haven't I? Okay, but you can read those. So it's more about pollution than life cycle costing and industrial ecology and eco-efficiency, but we read that already a few times. Yeah. Okay. So those are the tools. How to use it, concepts, tool positioning. Be aware they are sensitive to kind of what your projects are based on. So I've already hinted different industries have actually already started standardizing. Those are political constructs, be aware of it. So you can look at product, technology, and substance versus facility organization at the top. And then you can look against industry, government, civic society. And then here's again kind of green is not widely applied yet, well understood applied, alternative views on responsibility. So respectively, you can see different schemes. Product stewardship is a wonderful one. This is not well understood at all. And then you have as well, again, some that we already have. Ecological footprint. You may have done so in my first session. I gave you a tool to kind of calculate your own one. Yeah. So if you haven't done so, go back to the first folder. You have a wonderful tool where you can hammer in what you're doing, how you are living. Then you have as well an idea what your ecological footprint is, what your carbon footprint is. So they give you kind of the interface. Yeah. Okay. And again, further readings. This time there are links to companies, because they actually have stated those really good examples. So have a look at this. Yeah. And any questions?